Hi everybody. The series of videos you're going to see are taken from my Facebook Live that I've been doing in the evenings of the build of this aircraft. Now, one reason I've done this is it's just so much easier to plug in my webcam to my computer, stream it onto my Facebook. People can ask me questions. So the videos you're going to see right now, you'll notice that sometimes I'm answering questions and it's not me hearing voices in my head. It's actually people on my computer asking me questions while I'm just building things. The reason I've done this is it just got too much work to try to record a video, edit that video. Sometimes I would have to edit sound into it because my camera's audio didn't work good with my external microphone audio, and it just became a pain in the butt. So what you're seeing right now is a series of videos of me building the airplane, but it's through my Facebook Live. Now, these first videos were really crappy quality and the audio was crappy, and as I kind of figured out what I was doing, it got much, much better. So understand the first series of videos you're seeing here are crap quality, but then they get much better toward the end. I have about 24 hours of videos I recorded over the last month and a half, and I'm going to try to get each one of them up as about 30-minute pieces or less here on YouTube. So thanks for watching, everybody. I love all my followers, I love all the emails, and I love all the support. Have a great day and rock on. Okay guys, we are going live now, so hopefully this is up and running. So I'm going to be looking down here sometimes because I'm going to read if anybody comes on here. I'm still going to wait a couple of minutes before I start this just in case anybody shows up live. I'm going to give a little bit of an update on where I am with the plane, but I'm going to give it a couple of minutes to see who shows up. I always like to start a couple of minutes early just to make sure that I'm getting my feed working right and everything. And I try to wait until exactly 8 o'clock before I start. But if you see me looking down here, I'm looking at my computer monitor to see if there's anything going wrong with the video feed. And I see some people showing up. This is kind of exciting. This is a lot of fun. So I'm still going to wait another minute just in case anybody else shows up. A lot of exciting things happening right now with both life, family, and work. And so what time it is? It's 8 o'clock. So I'm going to go ahead and start. So this is going to be kind of a brief, which I always say that and they end up being 20 minutes long, but this is going to be kind of a brief update on the nose gear on this. I want to give a little bit of history on the nose gear. It is printed all with ABS, but that's not what I originally intended to start with. I was going to do the gray bracket here with ABS, but I was going to use ASA impregnated with polycarbonate or ABS impregnated with polycarbonate. What's nice about that is it can get really, really hot ambient wise and not deflect or get soft or have any problems. But with the ABS that I've done the testing with, I also polycarbonate's a lot stronger, so I thought that I would need the polycarbonate, but I wanted to be able to drop the wheels with a 20-pound weight on the nose from 8 inches and nothing break. And even with the slow-mo video, I don't even see any deflection in these black brackets here, which are ABS. I still, however, plan on printing those with probably ASA impregnated with polycarbonate, which will give me a whole lot of strength. So I'm going to go into a little bit about the gear real quick. One of the questions I got was how do the springs work on it? And if I pull this pin out right here, and I doubt the resolution's good enough on this camera, but I can get this up closer. This plug right here actually holds the springs, pushes the springs down, and if I put the landing gear up here, I can get the other spring. So I have 2 springs, one on top of each other. And if I want to make this stronger, if I want to make the strength of the spring stronger, I'm just going to make this plug longer in 5mm increments until I get the strength right on the nose. I think right now I'm going to be fine, because with a 20-pound weight in the nose of it, I got a 60% deflection of the nose gear. If I don't load the nose with anything, I drop it from 8 inches, it doesn't bottom out the gear. If I put the 20-pound barbell in there, it did bottom out the gear pretty severely, but I got no deflection in this black ABS part right here. So if you look right now, you can see, let me take the wheels off. Hopefully the resolution is good enough that you can see this. And if not, on my Facebook, I've been putting a lot of pictures so you'll be able to understand what's going on. But right here, you can see how much travel that strut has. And when I drop the springs down in here and I push this plug right now, that puts about 5 pounds of tension. I always get that plug in backwards. Puts about 5 pounds of tension right now on it. So when I push up, you can see I got the tension. If I want to make that stronger, I'm just going to make this plug longer, and that will compress the spring and make it tighter. So I hope that makes sense to everybody out there. The steering, there's been a little bit of a debate of why I used a tie rod to connect these two pieces together. And the reason I did that is these are big wheels, okay? These are what, 5-inch wheels. I was nervous that if I'm going along and hit something with one of the wheels, like here, that one servo would not be enough strength to keep this wheel going straight, because they're only 168-ounce torque servos, which sounds like a lot, but when you look at the moment arm and the force, I mean, this is going to be a 77-pound airplane when fully loaded. So I was afraid if I'm going along and I hit something with one of the two wheels, it would want to turn it, and I would only have that 160 ounces. By having the tie rod here, where I tie them both together, it's going to help both servos strengthen one wheel steering if that one wheel hits a clod of dirt or a rut or something like that. So that's the biggest reason I have the tie rod here. The tie rod right now only weighs just about 1/3 of an ounce, though the one that I want to make out of the polycarbonate, which is going to be a little bit more beefed up, will probably weigh 3/4 of an ounce. And to me, that's not that much weight. But that's kind of where I'm at with this. There was a lot of question how he's attaching this. There is an aluminum piece right here, Gorilla glued on, and there's 2 aluminum pieces on the top and bottom. And right now, if I set this on here and put a lot of weight, I mean, keep in mind, I set a, hang on, where's it at? Hang on a minute, everybody. So if I take the 20-pound barbell and set in the nose here, you see how much it deflects there. But if I start cramming and bottoming this out, you get a little bit of deflection in the foam here. And it's really hard to see unless I've got the camera in the right spot. But I think this is plenty strong enough. Now the nose, hang on, I'll be right back. The nose of the plane, which I'm still not 100% sure, I think it's going to be this shape right here, okay? But the nose of the plane, which is going to come out like this, will of course have a cutout in the front of it for this nose gear, and then I'm going to have hinges and a couple of pneumatic cylinders, which I can rotate up the nose to be able to get to the front end of everything. So I hope that makes sense. But I'm extremely, extremely happy with this landing gear. Another really nice thing about the landing gear is they really do work independently. Really, really nice. So if it's sitting on, if it's hitting ruts and stuff as it's taking off, the suspension I think is going to really do a good job. I'm not sure if you can see that. There you go. Maybe you can see it better like that. But this gives you an idea of how the suspension will work on the front of the plane. And then you know how it's going to steer. And if you want to see it steer, pull my throttle all the way down. But this is how it's going to steer. So I'm really happy with the design. A couple of factoids on it. It took 10 hours of CAD time in the evenings, late, to draw this all up. Somebody emailed me and thought it took 40 or 50 hours. This is really basic CAD work in 3ds Max. I mean, I'm sorry, Fusion 360. I used to use 3ds Max. The Fusion 360 has worked out absolutely perfect. I can shot always knock the stuff off. Yeah, okay, hang on, I'm reading some of the stuff, guys. Different length spacers for your under nut on the shock to adjust spring tension. Couldn't you make different length spacers for your under the nut on the shock to adjust? I'm not really sure what you mean there. There's a piston in here. Hang on a minute. Let me shut this off. So you understand what's going on inside this. Yeah, that's off the ground. So basically, this strut that goes up and down here, it has a piston that's running up and down it. Okay? When I drop the springs in, now the springs are riding up and down on the piston. Okay? When I take the plug, I can lengthen and make this different lengths, and that gives me my different tension. Right now when I push down on there, there's about 5 pounds. If I lengthen this at 5mm increments, I think it goes up like 2.5 pounds, or maybe it's 5 pounds per 5mm. I can't remember. I measured it once. But that's how I control the strength. I guess I could have put a screw here with a plunger, and then I could adjust that screw down, pushing the plunger down, and adjust the tension. But to me, to print 3 or 4 different size plugs and take it to the field and figure out which one works, I think is going to be fine. If you just joined on the video, of course this is going to be replayed later so you can watch it, and I hope you didn't miss anything. I was way behind on this, but I got caught up with this Thanksgiving vacation time that I took. Well, actually it's paid holiday, it's not vacation time, but the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday I had off this weekend, I really got caught up on this, so I'm back on schedule. The horizontal stab is next. I have decided, if you watch my other videos, the horizontal stab, the entire thing is going to move as my trim. I have 2, I don't know if you guys remember these old high-tech servos, but these 5735s are good for 264 ounces. Make sure I got that in there close enough. These are good for 264 ounces. I'm going to have 2 of them, one on each side of the fuselage. And the whole horizontal stabilizer, I can mix the trim on my radio for the elevator to move my entire stab. And the reason I'm doing that is, if you don't know, real airliners are big, a lot of airliners, the whole stab moves because the plane CG can change so much with luggage and people and all that. They don't just trim the elevator. At least most of the ones that I've researched don't, okay? You might prove me that there's an Airbus out there that still has trim tabs on the elevators, but I'm using a flying stab. Somebody asked me if there's going to be enough torque to move it. If you design the center of pressure right on the stab, there should be very little load on these servos, but I'm still going to use massive servos. Also, keep in mind, I'm going to move it about 5 degrees down and 5 degrees up, so the mechanical advantage of the servo is going to be massive. So just a 180-degree turn of the servo is only going to move the stab. I think it's not 5/16. I mean, I can't remember. It's right around a 1/2 inch up or down is going to be the entire trim. And the reason I'm doing that is this aircraft, the CG is going to change greatly. You never want to be tail heavy, but being really nose heavy, a lot of times you'll run out of enough elevator, or you can actually stall the elevator, or it is technically stall the elevator. But by having the whole stab move, you end up with a lot more trim forces. And I think I can set up my flight modes of my radio so that when I dump my cargo out, if the plane goes out of balance, you know, before I've taken off, if I already know what that CG change is going to be, I could have the flight mode set up to actually move the whole stab as I jettison the cargo. So there's going to be a lot of testing with this. I mean, an awful lot of testing. I mean, I'm going to have it flying by Ceph in the spring. It'll probably take me a year to really get it dialed in where I'm dropping all kinds of cargo. I already had somebody want me to, you know, there's, I can't remember what size tanks there are, but there's some of these tanks that are about $99, radio controlled tanks, and they're pretty big tanks, and they're pretty cool, but thought I should dump a couple of those out of this, and I measured I could put 4 in this. Not that I'm going to go out and spend $400 on toy tanks, but I might, because I think that'd look really cool to go through the air dumping tanks. Between the plug and the top of the spring. Well, between the plug and the top of the spring is where I change the length of this. I mean, I could very easily drill this out and have a piston, a plunger here. And as I run that screw in and out, it would move that plunger, and that would change the tension that I could actually dial it in. But I'm not sure if I want to go to all that trouble right now. And I might. It's a good idea. I just think by making these in several different lengths would just really be simple, just to go out and pop one in instead of trying to adjust both of them evenly. If I put both plugs in that are 5 millimeters more longer, I know that I'll be dialed in that way. So cool. So it looks like I'm just trying to look and see if there's any questions, everybody. I'm not trying to ignore you. So I hope you are liking this build and you're following it. These, oh, another crazy thing is the amount of servos that are in this. Oh, and I want to show one other thing. This is the little adapter thing I was talking about that works with my S-Bus, and I've got to take off a sticker I put on it because I can't remember what it's called. Hang on a minute. Yeah, it's called an SBD1, and this is only for the S-Bus with Futaba. But what's really neat about this is that the S-Bus receiver has some regular channels in it like a normal receiver would have. But it has an S-Bus cable, and going out of that S-Bus cable is basically a network. And that network can talk to as many servos as you want to put on the 16 channels I'm going to be using. So what's really neat about this device is I've got a little programmer right here. I take this programmer, I plug it into this, and I can tell it that this wire right here is channel 16, this wire is channel 2, and this wire is channel 5. And when I plug the servos up, that's what works from my radio. So what's really neat about S-Bus is, if I want to put this in the very tail end of this airplane, which is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 feet. So if I put this in the very tail of my airplane and then put a Y harness here, I can run those 2 servos off channel 4, let's say, and let's say those are my 2 rudder servos, and not care about how long my wire run is, because it is a data signal that's running back there. It's not just a regular radio signal that we're used to on our regular receivers. So this SBD1, I actually have 7 of these. So what's really cool is I can put one of these in a wing and have 3 separate channels going out to my wing on one wire. So I stick this out in the wing. This could be for the leading edge slats. This could be for my ailerons. And this could be for my spoilers. All of this, one wire running out. So in theory, I could have 1, 2, 3, 4 wires running through my entire airplane going to these to power all of my servos, which right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I have 22 servos in the 2 wings. Then I have another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the tail. So I'm going to have over 30 servos in this airplane by the time it's done. I know that's crazy, isn't it? So hopefully you understand what the SBD1 is. If you're just joining, the video will go live in about a half hour after Facebook does their magic to it. And that's kind of the update. One of the hardest things isn't building the airplane. It's not cutting the styrofoam out. It's not doing all of this. It's actually the riser diagram I do for the radio system. Because when I go to fish all the wire through the airplane, I need to pretty much know, am I going to have wingtip lights? Am I going to have landing lights that are in the wing that come out on servos? On this plane, I will have basically the lights that are retractable just because I'm stupid and I want to make everything motorized on this airplane. Keep in mind, this is a test bed. It's going to have leading edge slats. It's going to have Fowler flaps. It's going to have spoilers. It's going to have ailerons. The only thing it doesn't have is retractable landing gear because that just adds too much weight. I have to keep this plane under 77 and the third pounds, I think it is, or 77.3 or whatever it is. So I don't have to have that next level of the AMA inspection. I can inspect it myself if it's between 55 and the 77. But no, hopefully this all makes sense. And as I start to develop the schematic or the riser diagram for all of my wiring, I'll do some videos on that. It's just if anybody's got any questions. But I'm going to wrap this up. Of course, it went 20 minutes. I didn't want it to go that long. If you got any questions, keep the emails coming. I am getting a lot of emails. One thing that I want to kind of explain so everybody doesn't think I'm being a complete dickhead, okay? I'm serious about this. I like to post as I'm developing a design. And a lot of times you don't see my schematic drawings at the end where I'm going with it. And a lot of people will post and say, well, why aren't you doing this? It's a real gray zone for me when people post that, because I don't want to be the dickhead that's not answering or replying to you. I don't want anybody to ever think I'm ignoring them, okay? I want people to understand that I'm here to share what I do and to teach people. But on the other hand, it takes a lot of time to start answering a whole bunch of redundant questions. So I'm just in a gray zone. I don't know what to do, because when I first started posting this landing gear in the very early design phase, people were saying, well, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Well, I was already going to do that. I just hadn't gotten that far in rendering the drawing to show you that stage. So just bear with me, okay? If you post something and ask a question, I don't answer. It's not I'm ignoring you. And normally I will answer. It's just it takes up a lot of my time to answer this. I mean, this week alone, I got 71 emails. And I'm not even caught up on answering all those emails because I have a family and I've got work. I mean, this is something I do each night for about an hour, hour and a half, and on the weekends I play with. So thanks for watching this. Didn't mean to get so wordy at the end. Keep the emails coming. Keep the questions coming. But sometimes try to understand if that's a question that if you wait a day or two, it might get answered. Okay? Thanks a lot, everybody. I hope you really enjoy these and have an awesome week. This week I'm pretty busy with work again. I don't think I'll do any Facebook Lives until maybe Thursday. I'm trying to do them Thursdays and Sundays. That's kind of working right now. So have a great night, everybody, and be safe. Thanks. Bye. Okay, everybody, I wanted to show you the little design on the nose strut for the big transport I'm building. But basically, these are 3D printed scissor arms. And there'll be a spring that goes inside here. But I just want to, hang on, let's make sure it's focusing. But basically, that's how it's going to work. And the way this is made is I 3D printed, you know, basically all the parts that you see here. And so far the testing, it's been really, really strong. So I want it to hold 50 pounds of impact. Not that I would ever drive the nose of my plane into the ground with 50 pounds force, but I think you get what's going on here, but that's basically my front suspension. Rock on. Okay, here's the first test of the servos all hooked up and everything, hopefully being right. I haven't really tested this, so I don't know if this is going to bind up or anything. But let's move. And the wheels aren't touching. Almost touches. Yeah, actually they do touch right there, so I'll have to set how far it can turn, but 45 degrees of nose steering should be plenty for this big bird. But as you can see, it's working flawlessly, actually. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I love it when a plan comes together. Rock on. Okay, here's another test of the steering on the front of this big beast. This is a 20-pound barbell sitting up on the front of it, and as you can see, the two servos have no problem turning the nose wheels. Hey everybody, this is another test. This has a 20-pound barbell on the front of the fuselage. This is just a kind of test to see if the servos are strong enough. Each servo has 160 ounces of torque, so it should be plenty. That's over 300 ounces on the nose gears. The wheels are not attached to the axles yet, so they're just sitting on there. So when I move this, the wheels might work themselves out on the axles. But as you can see, the servos have no problem steering this, and that wheel started to slide out. And as you can see, the suspension's still working pretty good. So rock on.